Hey, how is it going? Welcome to this lesson where we'll be talking about the graphic references that I've used when creating the project basing myself on specific models. So, first I'm going to tell you what I want to do, then I'm going to show you a set of images that I've selected because I think they are quite eye-catching. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about mermaids. It can be said that mermaids are among of the most famous mythical characters. Nowadays, as I told you in the last lesson, there are many movies starred by mermaids, and in these movies they are represented with upper body of a female human and the tail of a fish. However, the representation of mermaids is not always the same. For example, there are cases in which mermaids are good, while others they are evil characters which attack any human being who gets close to them. The first reference we have of this character is in the Odyssey by Homer. In the past, however, sirens were considered dangerous creatures and resembled more to harpies because their body wasn't a fish but a bird. At that time, sirens were related to death, and it was also thought that they were in charge of bringing the sons of the dead sailors to Hades. It is said that they lure sailors to rocks and then they drowned. Once dead, sirens carried the dead bodies to the seabed where the underworld was supposed to be. So why our mermaids aren't that bad? Well, it was after these stories appeared in the Middle East mythology that sirens weren't half birds anymore, and they started being represented with the tail of a fish and as beautiful women. It was when these stories appeared on the scene of British cultural legacy that sirens started being represented as we know them nowadays. It is women with fish tail of great beauty who used their charming voice to attract sailors and cause their death. Okay, we have different mermaids characters in both cinema and series, which aren't necessarily animated versions. For example, H2O, Splash, Peter Pan, Swell, Pirates of the Caribbean. What else? Yes, Once Upon a Time, Mako Mermaids, The Legend of the Blue Sea, and so on. There are lots of them. Apart from these, I'm also going to talk about the references you are seeing now on the screen. As I am saying, it's more a matter of aesthetic than any other thing. What I really want you to learn is the diversity of styles when interpreting mermaids. At the end of the day, they are just fantastic beings whose interpretation depends on us. We have basic information which we are going to use when illustrating. However, we can use all these basic characteristics as a starting point and, from it, add or make use of other features we fancy. For example, in the case we see on the screen now, the mermaid is like a deep-sea fish, however she hasn't a frightening appearance unlike the one this fish has. So, which is crucial when designing something like this? I think that colors and creativity are really important, so you need to keep in mind that when doing your own illustrations. And also, gradients are very important, at least they are for me. However, it's just up to you. In my case, I've been perfecting my own style over time, and I think it's the same in your case. But why did I choose this illustration? Well, basically because I really like the style of it. Her expression, the image outlined, the composition, and also I find it funny the random inclusion of some fishes only to match the color with the mermaids and the illustration in general. What else? Oh yes, I also like that the anatomy is clearly defined and it doesn't present any deformity and everything fits perfectly. Something which is quite difficult to achieve since it's a fantastic creature. We don't have a real reference. And we have to unify two different creatures to different bodies, so that's difficult. That's why I find that the combination of a fish and a human works more than fine in this case. Well, it's all I had to say about this illustration, basically. Well, don't forget that creativity is a must. Also, I recommend using good references, but it's just a matter of personal taste, since, for example, in my case, I'm using those I like the most. An option could be downloading the illustrations you like the most, like from Pinterest, and then save them in a file. You can select them depending on the technique, the stroke, and then you can use them to create your own illustration. In my case, I've chosen this beautiful illustration you can see here because of the curved lines and its dynamic and movement. This other one is a selkie. I'm not sure if I told you about it. It's a woman with the tail of a seal. I think this is a good example to see that it's not strictly necessary for the mermaid to be a fish. She can also be a mammal, a marine mammal like this one, she only needs to have a tail that allows her to swim. And now have a look at this one. This is a jellyfish combined with any other type of fish. The reason why I've chosen this is mainly because of the color and the lighting, since I really like the lighting effects on it and the way the top of the illustration has been colored, and also the way she seems to use the jellyfish as an umbrella while looking to the little animals around her. Well, don't know exactly what they are. I think they are like jellyfishes or something like that. Don't know. Anyway, this one is a mermaid and it's a bit different and is inspired by a seahorse. Why do I like this picture? Basically because it has flat colors and presents a soft texture, and if you look closely, it doesn't have many lines. I also like the color palette, basically green and pink colors. I think it's really cool. Here we have another mermaid. Although it's a flat illustration, it's a 2D picture, the texture and color adds strength and animate it. Plus, contrast between warm tones and cold ones is also striking, so I love it. In the last place, we have in here a kind of jellyfish mermaid, or maybe a jellyfish, don't know. I've also loved the colors of this one, that's why I've selected it. And then we have this one. I know that it might be a bit striking because it hasn't any color or texture, but I'll explain why I've selected it and you will understand. Mainly, I've chosen it as an introduction from the next lesson, which is going to be mainly about anatomy. Does it make sense, right? As you can see, the tail has a quite simple structure and the upper part belongs to the human side. Both human and fish become one in the part of the waist. It's like the human backbone is prolonged onto the fish tail. Don't worry, because I'll be explaining it in the following lesson, so you will understand it perfectly. What do you think about all these illustrations? I hope that you like them. See you in the next lesson. Bye!